Okay, let's do problem 6, zigzag conversion. Before we go through the solution, let's have a look at the question. So we have an input string and the integer row number, and our output has to be the string. The reason we got this output is if you put PayPal is hiring in zigzag format and read the value row by row, and we get the following output. So even before we solve any question, we do know that there should be a string builder, because we are going to read the letters one by one and then append to our string builder object. And I'm just going to call it SP. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at P, and then we will get this I and then N, and then we will move on to A, and then we will get all the letters in the same row, and then we will move on to the next row and so on. So it is a common implementation to have a nested for loop for these sort of implementation. So the first condition would be int I equals 0, and then I should be less than num rows, and they will be simply I++, so that we can look at PAYP and then get all the elements in the row. So I'm just gonna say that's row 0, 1, 2, and 3. So what should be the condition for this? All right, so before we write down any condition, let's do some analysis. So from P to I, it would be 6 steps, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then likewise I to N, it would be 6 steps. So here we can have j equals I, and then j will be less than s star length, and then it would increment by 6. I'm gonna call it v step for now. So the reason I call it v step is when we look at the zigzag, there's a vertical and diagonal, so we are getting all the vertical elements using the v steps. So the vertical step was actually 6, but how did we get 6? Also, does it work for the other rows? So from A, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we also had 6 steps to get the vertical steps, same for row 2 and 3. How did we get a value of 6? It is actually num rows, the number of rows we have, multiplied by 2 minus 2. Right? So if we do that, what we're going to do here is we're going to do sp.append the character and character at j. So if we do that, we will successfully add pin into our string builder. So here we will have pin, but when we go into the next row, we can do the same thing to get the vertical elements, but we will be leaving out L and I. Same for when we go to row 2, we will be leaving out A and H. So what's the rule for? So we call the vertical steps, and it will be diagonal steps. So what's the rule for that? So let's have a look. We have diagonal steps. So for row 1 it was 4, and then row 2 it was 2. The logic is actually simple. It was actually 6, as it would be vertical step minus 2 multiplied by the row number. So the row number was 1, the row number is 2, so if we apply this equation, we get the correct diagonal steps. So from A to, so when we're at A, and then using the logic we have, we are going to move straight to S. But before we move to S, I want to have some sort of a if condition here, so that we can add the diagonal components. So what's the logic? Well, if you look at the diagonal ones, we can see that the first and the last can never have the diagonal components, because if you look at the edge, if we look at the shape of the zigzag, these are the edges, so they can never have the diagonal components. So we can just say I is not equal to 0, and then I is not equal to last element, and then there should be one more condition. So within the inner loop, we will be going from A to S and then S to G, and then here we do not want to call this function, this if statement. So to do that, we have to have one condition, which is the current position plus the diagonal step should be less than the size of the input. So meaning that we have to make sure that there isn't anything after this, any diagonal components after this. So it will be J plus diagonal steps should be less than S dot length. In that case, we do append whatever is at J plus diagonal steps. So if we do that, suppose we got PIN and then we got to A. So we put A into our string builder, and then we look at our condition. Yes, it does satisfy, so we have to add this L. So it will be L, and then we jump by V vertical steps. So we will be at S point, and then we append our character, which is S, and then we continue the same. Alright, it's kind of poorly written pseudocode, but hopefully that will do. So to do this, we do need a string builder. New string builder. And then there's one edge case. We can see example 3. When number of rows is equal to 1, we just return the whatever string we're given. So if PayPal is hiring and number of rows was 1, we just return PayPal is hiring. So if num rows is equal to 1, we just return yes. Otherwise, we just carry on. So int I equals 0, I is less than num rows, and then I plus plus. So here we had a vertical step, but we didn't define it, so we are going to define vertical steps here, as well as diagonal steps. So the vertical steps was num rows multiplied by 2 minus 2, and diagonal steps was vertical steps minus 2 multiplied by number of rows. Number of the row number we are looking at is actually I, so 2 multiplied by I. And then we will have another for loop here, int j equals I, and then j is less than s dot length, and then just less than f, and then j, we have to go up by vertical steps. Okay, and then we are going to append what we're looking at is car at j, and then if I is not equal to 0, if it's not the first, and if I is not equal to num rows minus 1, which is not the last, and then we have to put the bound to it. So if j plus diagonal steps is less than s dot length. In that case, we have to append s.car at j plus diagonal steps. And then at the end, we have to return sb to string. Let's run the test. It's accepted. Let's submit. Alright, it's 86%. It's probably because of the internet speed. When I tested, it was 99%. Alright, so that's it.